one of those annoying interruptions. I'm sorry about that. Well, hey, I'm here with my friend Marc Miller. We've got a few questions to discuss. You and I first met at Gustavus.
Gusty's Rock.
Seems like an eon ago. You were a tennis player. I tried to be, but I wasn't good enough. You were. And Wilkinson, he's a legendary coach. He was a very spiritual man. How does the impact of Steve Wilkinson alive in your life now?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, Steve passed away just a little over a year ago. Was my mentor and really got me sort of on the road. It's really interesting that you had mentioned that because before Steve died, he wrote a memoir, a book. It's called Let Love Serve. And I actually helped him sort of put that book together. And one of the chapters, I was actually going to talk about it a little bit today, and I'm really glad you brought this up because one of the chapters he has in there is titled Only. And his deal was he was a very active Christian, you know, very, very influential in the community, but he really had a problem with the use of the word only in the Bible, right? That it's the only way. And he was really a proponent of in any of the religions, right? That's where all the wars and all the real strife comes from, is when they say the only way to do it is this. And he was just such an influential, just impactful guy.
Outstanding. Well, so you have this business that's thriving. We didn't talk about that at all. Imagine IT. How in the world did you get started? How were you drawn to getting into the IT consulting business?
Yeah, kind of an interesting roundabout way there too. You know, I was a computer science major, you know, back in college. It was just after they invented electricity, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I went from college, you know, I was a tennis player in college, and I went from there, and I was a tennis professional for 20 years after that, got into the golf business a little bit, was a golf professional for a little while, and sort of came full circle when one of my business partners, Peter Duran, was in the IT space and wanted to grow his business, and I had sort of blown up a golf business a little bit, and he wanted somebody to come in and step in, and so I had some acumen in the technology world. It's something I had played with and messed around with a long time, and we kind of formed and jumped into the IT space, and it's been sort of great ever since. So
how has founding the Gunner Project affected how you show up and in your role at work?
Another very interesting question. I wasn't sure, and I actually, when the Gunner Project was sort of founded, I tried to keep the two sort of separate. But I am now the official chief happiness officer at Imagine IT.
How about that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Chief happiness officer.
And we take that very seriously. It's not just something that I have. I meet regularly with all of the members on my team, and we talk about happiness. We talk about their personal happiness. I'm trying to create a vocabulary in a way that we can talk about happiness, you know, in a business sense, and how happiness impacts not only the team inside, but also the partners that we work with. It's something that we take very seriously. So that's been cool.
Will you tell us a little bit about how does the Gunner Project actually work? What is a day in the life of how the Gunner Project comes alive?
Yeah, you know, it's been interesting. You know, we to this point we haven't really gone out and advertised that we do this, right, for students at all.
What is this?
To this point, it's really been a presentation, right?
Okay.
So I'll get a group of kids together. We typically meet for an hour to an hour and a half.
So a workshop.
That kind of a workshop, yeah. And most of what we do is actually exercises where the kids get together in groups of 4 or 5, and they just talk about happiness and some of these paradoxes that are out there, right? Like happy, for instance, is very different than happiness, although people use those two terms interchangeably, right? If you ask a group of kids, you know, what are the things that make you happy? They say, you know, playing Star Wars and hanging out with my friends and a good cup of coffee and playing my guitar. But when you turn that around on them and you say, give me your definition for true happiness, right? And you have the kids talk about this amongst themselves, they come up with these just incredible definitions of true happiness that involve serving others and, you know, healthy relationships with their family and friends, and these very meaningful, deep, enriching things. And at the end of that exercise, I can say, see how happy and happiness are very different. You know, if you woke up in the morning and your purpose in life was to pursue happiness, given the definition you just used, that would be an unbelievably worthwhile and meaningful life, right? But if you woke up in the morning and you pursued happy, and happy was hanging out with friends and playing Star Wars and drinking Jolt, right? It's going to be very, meaningless. And people say, right, I want to be happy. All I want to do is be happy. And I think what they really mean is they want to be on this path toward happiness, right? That's what people are really striving to do.
Very well said, and important to teach kids, and probably parents too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you took up hiking in many ways to honor Gunnar. You've got an awesome story. Will you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, so as I said, Gunnar, one of the stops when he was sort of on his recovery tour was a great place called the Wilderness, and it's located up in Montana, just a wonderful place. And using Gunnar's words, he said that he had a spiritual awakening when he was hiking, and he hiked to the top of one of these peaks and sort of got to this peak, and he could kind of look back behind him and see his life and what it had been, and he could kind of look from the peak and see kind of ahead and see what he wanted to be. And after Gunnar passed, I decided that I wanted to go up there and see what he had seen. And so I got one of my old fart buddies, and we loaded up a backpack, whatever, and we were just going to go, marching up this mountain. And so we did, and we got up the mountain, and we climbed up to the top of this peak, and I spread some ashes and cried a little bit and said a few words, and we were all fired up. And the next day, we're coming down this path, and the path was maybe 2 feet wide or so, and there was a rock face to our left side, and there was a drop off about 25 feet down to the right. And I looked up on the path ahead of us, and there was a sharp left turn, and I thought I saw an animal go across the path. And so I turned around to my buddy and I said, Bob, we need to just stop here for a second, because I think I saw an animal on this path ahead of me. And I turned, literally, by the time I had turned around, there was a full-size grizzly bear running at us full speed down this path. So we didn't have anything to do, and so I yelled back to Bob. I said, jump! And so we jumped off this cliff, and I'm doing the Rambo thing, right, where I'm coming through the pine trees and back and forth, and I land on the ground on my back, and my pack gets wedged between a dead tree and a rock. And I'm waiting for this grizzly bear to jump over the edge and just go revenant on me, right? Just go crazy. And the bear comes right up to the edge of the cliff and looks down at me and goes, and then backs off and takes away. It just takes off. And it's an interesting thing for me to think about. It's still... But it's interesting because we were out there to celebrate the impermanence of life. And
I'd say it worked. Wow. I don't know any other way to top that other than to ask, how can we help you with the Gunnar Project?
Yeah, if you know of any groups of kids who you feel like would resonate with this message of happiness, let me know. Paul has my contact information. You can go to our website, gunnarproject.org. It was just redone recently, and there's a lot of really cool information up there about some of the things that we do for the projects, but we really haven't done any advertising yet about the Gunnar Project and sort of these workshops that we do. Everything that we've done is just kind of word of mouth, people coming to us, and so if you know of any groups that are out there that would like a little happiness shot in the arm, just let me know.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being a part of the leadership.
Yeah, thank you.
And while Julie's on her way up here, so is Marc Bergman. It's an important day today. Julie, you have something for Marc.
I do. Marc, from Bremer Bank, we have a $500 speaker donation. And this is normally where I ask what nonprofit you would like this to go to, but I think we all probably know that. So for the Gunnar Project, and to continue sharing and inspiring your message of happiness.
Thank you so much.